Hey everyone, this is Tell the Truth Sports Radio. I'm your host, Ron Fitch. I'm gonna tell you the truth about the rivalry week. Michigan, Ohio State. Alabama, Auburn, it's not. I mean, if Auburn plays over their head, because Alabama has a history of not playing as good in Auburn. If Auburn could play over their head, Alabama kind of makes stupid mistakes, that's a chance for an upset. Georgia Tech, that's going to be a bloodbath. But Michigan, Ohio State, I believe in my heart is going to be a very close game. With, and I also believe, and I heard a pundit say it's going to be a low scoring game because I do believe both front sevens are really good. Now, Will Johnson can flat out play cornerback. But we'll see. Can Sharon Moore dial up the proper defenses to keep Marvin Harrison out of the end zone and from cooking Michigan? Because he was having his way for a little while last year, and then Michigan just kept pouring it on, and McCarthy really he played good, and Corb ran, and they pushed Ohio State. They punched Ohio State in the face on the last two years. And now Ohio State is a little shaky on the left and right tackle. They tried to get transfers. It's not worked as well, but they're Ohio State. They have Travion Johnson, and he is an absolute beast. He's a home run hitter. I'm sorry, I apologize. TreVeyon Henderson. TreVeyon Henderson is a guy that can go 70 yards and or he could go 40, 50 yards. Now you're terrified. Now you're playing a different type of coverage. Now you get the one-on-one matchups, Harrison and Will Johnson. But they're probably going to have help over the top for Harrison at times. But if Johnson could contain him, and now you can start to focus on the running game and taking other weapons away, that's huge. If Harrison just blows them away, that's different. But if Harrison has a catch here and a catch there, and Will Johnson has some good moments, and they don't throw the flag all over the place, ticky-tack, offensive or defensive interference penalties and targeting, little nonsensical targeting penalties. Now, if it's legitimate, I get it. I don't like the targeting rule because it should be, okay, you get one warning and then you get kicked out. That's a little more fair, but this is the rules of college football right now. So I hope no one gets kicked out for targeting. It messes the game up. I don't want the officials messing Ohio State, Michigan up. This is Ohio State, Michigan. In Michigan, in Ann Arbor, with Sharon Moore as the interim coach. And I wonder if, as good as he is, this is a big game and Harbaugh is not there. I took away some points because I think Michigan could have won by a little more, but I think this is now going down to the wire because fair or not fair, he has to make some tough decisions. Penn State, and the other game they played, that's different. This is Ohio State. And I despise Ryan Day. I'm gonna keep it real. I would tell him to his face. I can't listen, man. All due respect, you've done a good job as a Ohio State coach, but I despise you. I cannot. He gets under my skin, but that doesn't take away how good the program is and what opportunity they have, and they could win this game. It's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to mistakes. J.J. McCarthy, I'll do both quarterbacks. J.J. McCarthy cannot throw the ball down the field and miss a wide open touchdown like he's done a couple times, like last week against Penn State, wide open touchdown. Now they gotta work a little harder because that would have put the game away. But because he couldn't complete that pass, now they had to work a little harder. Maybe if you don't complete that pass this game, that's the reason you don't play in the playoffs. So there's no margin of error tomorrow. McCarthy hasn't played great, but McCord is kind of conservative and close to the vest as a quarterback. He's got to make plays. I don't think Travion Henderson is just going to run all over that front. Maybe one other than Georgia, one of the best defensive fronts in all of college football with a great quarterback on the back end. But I don't think that Travion Henderson is going to run wild. He'll have his moments. And Corum is going to, he's that in-between runner for Michigan. So Michigan's going to look to get in between yards. I think both running backs have some moments, but this game's going to come down to 3rd and 10, 3rd and 7. McCarthy going to make that play. McCarthy going to have time. Michigan's weakness, they're not as tough at the tackles as either, like Ohio State. But McCarthy has more experience. McCarthy's been there, done that. McCord, this is his first year. Can McCord make plays on the road? Can he make those tight throws on 3rd and 7? Can he keep the chains moving? Can McCarthy play up to his potential? If he doesn't, they could get beat. If he does, it's going to be hard for Ohio State to win in Ann Arbor. Ohio State's a little more physical. The last 2 years, they got pushed around. They weren't as physical as they thought they were. But this year, I think they're a little better. Their front is very talented, but at times can be a little inconsistent. So if you get the good Ohio State talented front getting after Michigan, that's the trouble. But if you don't, that's even worse because Ohio State's missing some of their leaders on defense that they're out of the game. And can Michigan take advantage of that? I like Corum out of the backfield on screen passes too. I think that's the key for Michigan to win. I believe Michigan's going to win a last second. I don't trust kickers. So if they win a last second kick, they may get at least to the 20-yard line. I think it's going to come down to the mistakes, either Ohio State late or Michigan late. I lean toward Michigan, but would not surprise me if this version of Ohio State wins. It's a big not having Harbaugh there. That's huge. Now, Sherrone Moore, fantastic. They played for him. It's Harbaugh's game plan. It's just not the same as Harbaugh. So that brought in maybe a 10-point Michigan win. Now it could be like a 1-point Michigan win or a loss. It's a toss-up. I think this game is going to be super close. Before I leave this segment, I do believe Alabama will get by Auburn. I think it's going to be Hugh Freeze is going to make it hard for Alabama. But Monroe will make enough running and passing plays to get by Auburn. And I don't think style points matter because if Alabama beats Georgia, I don't care what happens. I'm not picking them to beat Georgia, but if they beat Georgia, they're in the playoffs, regardless of what happens in this Auburn game. They beat Auburn, and if they win by 7 points, they're like, well, style points, we don't like it. You have one loss. No. Alabama's getting in if they beat Georgia. If you beat Georgia and Georgia's had this long winning streak and you walk into the SEC and beat Georgia again, because you've beaten Georgia the last 4 times, I believe, and you beat them again where you're the underdog and Georgia's trying to three-peat and you knock them off, Alabama's getting in. Somebody's getting their heart broken in. And I know my best friend said, that's so unfair that Florida State wouldn't get in. But first of all, Florida State got beat Louisville. And without their starting quarterback, the committee's going to weigh in on that. And they're going to say, no, you're not going to get in. And then I got to see if Texas is going to win. So there's a lot of football left to play. And then if Oklahoma, I don't know what happens tonight with Oregon and Oregon State. If they get by Oregon State and they get by Washington, they're in. Or if Washington beats Oregon, they're in. So all these teams that ranked ahead, they're all going to play each other. So it's going to eventually sort each other out. Well, now, that was kind of a waste of a Thanksgiving and Black Friday weekend as far as football is concerned. Just beatings all around. I'm going to start with the Cowboys beating the Washington. I told you they were going to beat Washington, and beat 45-10 is about right. It was just, they were kind of, Dallas starting off the game, they're kind of toying with their kill, but then they're leaving, they're manning up CeeDee Lamb, and then their zone, they couldn't find him, and he just, CeeDee Lamb had 4 receptions for 53 yards, and Cooks got 72 yards passing. Tolbert and Ferguson got involved. That's oh boy, that's a dangerous thing. And then Pollard gets his. Toy Pollard, he had 6 catches for 24 yards, but he had 79 yards rushing, so they ran the ball. But they've, which is a good thing, they've whooped up on the 3 teams they're supposed to blow out, and they did, and that sometimes gets you going. So that's a good thing. And they say, well, Dallas hasn't beat a good team. They beat the. I'm just saying the Chargers are talented, so I consider that a good win in LA, and LA was kind of playing good at the time. They got the Dolphins, the Bills, the Seahawks, and the Lions coming up. So and the Eagles. So they'll get their share. They're going to get all the good teams coming up. But they did what they were supposed to do, and the defense is getting after you. And then Bland had I believe his 6th pick 6. He's uncanny. I mean, this dude is uncanny when it comes to getting interceptions. You know, another pick 6. He's very smart, and you got Gilmore, so they're solid on the back. If they had Diggs, I think I might pick him to win this whole thing. Diggs, that is tough. Now, the team that they got to psychologically get past is the 49ers. The 49ers have found themselves. You go get Chase Young. Of course you're going to play a lot better. And they annihilated the Seahawks. And when I saw it was let me see, 7-3, and they were back to their old goal in their own goal line. And Geno Smith tripped over his running back's foot. And once that happened, I knew the game was over, and the 49ers just clobbered them. And Debo's the emotional leader. Debo Samuel's, it's just like it makes that team. He's the engine, because now McCaffrey does what he does best, run between tackles, catch the ball. But Debo running the ball, catching the ball over the middle, it allows Kittles to eat. Mitchell runs the ball better. Purdy is more in control. I mean, he's 209 yards, a touchdown, 21 of 30, very efficient. But Debo, just 7 receptions for 79 yards. And then Ayuk now gets one-on-one coverage, and he's very good. It's just they have a galaxy of stars. They're not super deep, so any injury kind of messes the chemistry of the Niners up. With Telfungo out in the back end, I told you I'm not crazy about Ward, especially if they play the Cowboys again. And again, they annihilate the Cowboys, but Tufunga is such a superb, great top 3 safety in the league that you're going to feel that a little bit. Now, if they play the Cowboys, they got to get after Dak. Dak has been mistake prone, but I will say this. If you put Ward on CeeDee Lamb and Dak actually has time, the game will be a lot closer, because CeeDee Lamb's going to tear him up. I think that you can get after their corners a little bit. Their safety's okay, but so what? So what if you get open? If your quarterback's on his rear end, by the time your receiver's running his route and running over the wide open, I'm open, too late, because he's on the ground. Because Hargrave, you get up the middle pressure, and then the light Warner and those dudes on the front and the front 7. I mean, they could blitz, but a lot of times they don't have to, because you gotta. How the heck are we gonna block Young and Bosa? And then now we got to dedicate a tight end to chip one of those guys. But then if Hargrave comes up the middle, and then they might blitz Warner up the middle, you probably don't have a chance. The only chance that the Cowboys have, they just turn Brock Purdy over, which he at times could be a little reckless. They have a chance, but it's going to be hard, because the matchup is bad. And then mentally, there's a mental issue, mental barrier, because the Cowboys could go play the Eagles and beat them at home. Okay. And Cowboy fans and Michael Irvin celebrate, dance. It's about when you walk into the 49ers stadium and take care of business and then win another game and then finally get to the NFC Championship. There's such a mental barrier because that could go 20 touchdowns. Now he could go 15 touchdowns and one interception the rest of the way. But when them words say playoffs and he gets under center, he's got to prove to himself. He's got to prove to his team. He's got to prove to the media. He's got to prove to the other team that he can play the way he's played the last 3 weeks. That's the key. And we're talking about the Cowboys and the Niners and how much talent, how great they are. And then what happens is the Eagles just kind of go along. I think if they can stop Buffalo's running game, this is big, they'll win that game. If they don't, they're going to be a little bit of trouble because they're coming right off an emotional win against Kansas City. But if they go out there and they're focused and they play Eagle football, got to play Eagle football and got to be mistake-free, they got a chance. But if they don't, they're going to get beat because Buffalo's playing well. But if they do win, it just seems like the Eagles are like, yeah, they got one loss, but everybody's focus is on the Cowboys and the Niners. And shout out to It's All About Sports. All their fans are in Philadelphia. And I'm going to send this show out to them and Robert Page and all those guys. The thing is, the Eagles they got to the Super Bowl last year, and there's no Super Bowl hangover there. But there's another level that Bradbury, that the secondary, that Jalen Hurts, Swift. I saw some of that from Swift. The offensive line, which wasn't great against Kansas City. Sincere got to do a better play call. There's another level the Eagles can go, and that level nobody can get to. They have to get there. If they don't get there, they're not going to make it because the Niners and the Cowboys are serious. The Lions got beat by Green Bay. They're slipping a little bit, but I think they'll win their division. They're not quite the big three, like on the big three level. They're almost there, but they're not quite the big three level with the Niners and the Cowboys and Eagles. But the Eagles can go a level that I don't think the Niners and the Cowboys can get to. If you're talking about their depth of pass rushers with Hassan Reddick and Graham and all those dudes that make key plays. And they have a confidence. See, the Niners and the Cowboys haven't won since the 90s. The Eagles have won recently, and they've been to a Super Bowl, and they have beaten, even though it wasn't Purdy, they beat the Niners, and the Niners are saying, listen, when we see you guys with a full team, we'll take care of that. And the Eagles like, okay, we'll see. But everybody's talking Niners and Cowboys after this weekend. It's just, they're the best. The Cowboys could be the best. The Niners, with this roster, they're the best. And the Eagles are just, I think that works in the Eagles' advantage because now, okay, we have one loss this year, and you guys are going on, and it's going to be proven because the Niners come to Philadelphia, and I get to see physically, I get to analyze that, and that gives me a better gauge and barometer going into the playoffs. But like I said, there's a level. The secondary can play better. Slag can play better. And before I get out of here, the most important thing that the Eagles have to do that they're not doing, and they better do it quickly. The Dallas game, I didn't like. The Kansas City game, I didn't like. Because you got the tush push, you got the good run game. Hurts could run. He looks better. A.J. Brown can catch those big third down plays. You could have A.J. Brown get doubled and Smith get open, and Goddard will be back for the playoffs. You got to have that 3-minute put the game away, run the clock out drive, and the Eagles have got to do that, or you're going to get your heart broken. If from now, like this Sunday, all the way through, you have the lead with 3 minutes left, with that team and that line, you got to run. Don't be so super conservative. Throw the ball, maybe throw a screen, throw A.J. Brown open, get a couple first downs. Don't worry about the timeouts and clocks because you're the Eagles and you should be confident enough it Hurts and this core offensive line that they're not going to make a mistake. Get the first down, run it, pass it, mix it up, until you run that clock out. And the Eagles have to develop those plays from now going forward. That's their only chance. If you want to see a parade on Broad Street in Philadelphia, that's your only chance, but you got to clean that up.